What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Ralph's Real Review. This time from the road. I'm in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, celebrating the wedding of Sam and Tony. So congratulations to you guys. But today we are going to review Melody Time, which is pretty much the spiritual successor to Fantasia and Make Mine Music. Now, right now, guys, we are at 21 subscribers, which means we are four away from our goal. We wanted to hit 25 by the time that we reach Cinderella. We have two videos left. We have this video, we have Ichabod and Mr. Toad next, and then Cinderella is going to be after that. So we need four subscribers in two videos. It's very doable. We're almost there. If you guys know anybody who would like this content, please share and let them know that we are doing this so that they can subscribe. Or if you've been watching this and you have not subscribed yet, subscribe. That would be great, and it would help me reach my goal and us reach our goal, I guess, as a community. Melody Time is the second to last package film. Disney considers it the last anthology film. I guess Ichabod and Mr. Toad only has two stories, so they don't consider it an anthology. But for whatever purposes, there's multiple shorts that are combined. And for the purposes of this video, I'm really going to focus on the four that stood out to me as memorable. There's more. I know that there are some that have been reused in different packages. But the four that were memorable to me were Johnny Appleseed, the short, and I forgot the name of it, but it's the short with Donald and Jose, the little toot short with the boat, and then finally the long finale, which is Pecos Bill. Starting in the animation category, I have Melody Time at sixth, right beneath Bambi and right above Fun and Fancy Free. I think at a certain point I had it at seven. I put it above at six. You could really change those two. There's not much difference between them. I just felt like there was more animation happening in Melody Time as compared to Fun and Fancy Free. I don't know that it was necessarily better, but there was definitely more animation happening. But it didn't have the memorable, iconic scene that I felt that I got from Bambi, which is why I decided to put it at six. At storytelling, I'm putting Melody Time at five. I think that there are some really good shorts here. I think Pecos Bill was extremely engaging. I also think that Little Two was engaging enough. It was fun and it was cute. It wasn't great, but it kept my attention long enough, which for a long short is pretty good. And then finally, Johnny Appleseed. Johnny Appleseed was it's right there with Pecos Bill as like my favorites from this movie. I think that both stories were engaging. The music works really well with the storytelling in both of those. But the characters are fun. The stories are fun, and the way that they come across is fun. So just putting everything together in these shorts that are longer shorts than some of the other ones that we've seen so far in these anthology films, but they still keep your attention. Yeah, I'm gonna give the storytelling at a five there for Melody Time, which is pretty high for an anthology film. For characters, I do have Melody Time at eight, which really pains me. I was just looking for ways to rise it up the rankings because I do feel like Pecos Bill is a very strong character, and I do feel like Johnny Appleseed and the ghost that he encounters are strong. I feel like Little Toot is strong. I feel like they have a lot of strong characters, which makes me want to rise it higher when it comes to eight. But the reality of the situation is none of these characters are memorable to anyone besides like the diehard of all Disney diehards, right? I would say Pecos Bill is probably the most recognizable one, but that's really only because Pecos Bill has a restaurant in Magic Kingdom. So if he didn't have that restaurant, would we remember Pecos Bill the same way? I don't know that we do. So when you don't have a character that's memorable like that, it's hard for me to put you above a Fantasia, which has a Chernabog and a Yen Sid, right? As well as other characters. So I do have Fantasia at seven. I did decide to put Melody Time at eight. When it comes to the Disney factor, I also decided to put Melody Time at eight. There's nothing egregious about this movie like some movies have, but there's nothing magical about this movie. When I'm watching this, I'm looking at the fact that yes, it's combining music and storytelling and animation in a way that really only Disney was doing at the time. But looking back on it from today's lens, there's nothing that really feels Disney about these shorts, right? When you look at the amount of gun use in Pecos Bill, again, from today's lens, it really doesn't feel Disney, but I feel like if I showed any of these shorts to a child today, or really anybody today, and I were to be like, who created these? I don't know that it feels Disney, right? So, Saludos Amigos, it doesn't get much worse than that. So I do have it above there, but for the most part, there's nothing special that screams Disney about this movie, so I have it at eight. When it comes to music, I have Melody Time at six, which again is pretty high. I gotta check. I do believe I have it under Fantasia. The list will show you where I have it right now. But when it comes to Melody Time, I feel like this is what Make Mine Music should have been. Make Mine Music, I did have at 10 because I felt like for a movie with music in the title, the music was utterly forgettable. Even right now, I'm having a hard time thinking of any music that came out of Make Mine Music. But when I'm looking at Melody Time, there were some highlights, right? There were some shorts where the music I didn't feel was great, but the Little Toot short, the music worked really well with the short. But for me, the reason why I have it so high, because in Fun and Fancy Free, the Say It With the Slap song stayed with me. Um, However, in Melody Time, Johnny Appleseed's theme. I love that theme song, and I will admit to a little bit of bias. When I was younger, we had the Disney Legends DVD, and I used to watch that from time to time. And the Johnny Appleseed short was on that Disney Legends DVD, so I was familiar with the short from my childhood. And going back and listening to it again, that song I remember loving it as a kid. I love it now. I think that it's just a great song, and it goes with the short, and it's fantastic. So yeah, I decided that at that point it was time to put it up in the rankings. And I got to check again, but I'm pretty sure I have it below Fantasia, which is fair. Next, we have box office success, which I'm glad is finally corrected because Melody Time comes in at eight at about $32 million adjusted for inflation, which lines up with what you see with the numbers in the rankings. Again, the ones that are messed up, go back and watch my last two videos where I explain why it is that way. But Melody Time was not necessarily a great box office success, coming in eighth behind a lot of these other movies that, when adjusted for inflation, made significantly more money. I don't know that it was a box office failure, but it wasn't necessarily booming and great for business compared to even the other anthology films. It comes in at eight. And then finally, we have historical significance, where I have Melody Time at ninth, just above Fun and Fancy Free. With Fun and Fancy Free, the only thing we had was a shop, Sir Mickey's, which we felt stayed from that movie. From this movie, we really only have Pecos Bill Tall Tale Inn and Cafe, which is named after, obviously, Pecos Bill, who originated from this movie. So that's it, right? And Pecos Bill, I feel like, is a step above Sir Mickey's. I mean, it's a dining establishment, and they do have a lot more Pecos Bill, I don't want to say memorabilia, but references. They have a lot more Pecos Bill references throughout, and they have a lot more Melody Time references throughout that restaurant because they also have Jose in that restaurant, who is only affiliated with Pecos Bill through the fact that they were in the same movie. So I do think that there is a little bit more historical significance behind Melody Time. But again, we're talking about one restaurant in Magic Kingdom, and that's it. So it's that nine. Before we get into the tiers, guys, we actually are at our 10th movie. And I think every 10 movies or so, I just want to do a little checking on the rankings to see where we are every 10 movies or so. So, looking at right now, the way that I decided to do this was we're going to wait, for the sake of convenience, by the way, we are going to weight all categories equally. And then we're going to add up the numbers that are next to each category for each movie. And then clearly, the lower your score, the better movie you are, allegedly, right? So if you got a one in every category, you were the best in every category, then that means you were the better movie. Right now, since we're only at 10, if you had tens in every category, you were the worst. All right, so I decided to just add all those up and let's see where things landed. All right, and I do have the screenshot pulled up on my phone so I don't mess this up. So at Saludos, there we go. At 10, we currently have Saludos Amigos with an average score of a 9.1, meaning consistently, again, this is out of 10 movies we've reviewed so far, it averages ninth place. So that's pretty bad for Saludos Amigos. At 9, we have Make Mine Music with an average rank of 8.4, so it's consistently in the bottom three. At 8, we have Melody Time and Fun and Fancy Free. So I guess they're tied for seventh. We have Fun and Fancy Free and Melody Time with an average ranking of 7.1. I'm going to discuss this more in the tiers in a second. But at number 6, we have Bambi at a 5.3 average, meaning it averages the middle of the pack. Above Bambi at number 5, we have the Three Caballeros, which has an average score of 4.7, meaning it's consistently in the top 5. At number 4, we have Dumbo with an average score of 4.4. At 3, we have Fantasia with an average score of 3.4. So it's definitely always in that top four conversation, which is way higher than I would have thought Fantasia was when I first watched it. But that's where we are so far. I do think that will change. Let me talk about that later. At two, we have Snow White with an average score of 2.9, meaning it's consistently in the top three. And then at number one, no surprise to me, at this point, we have Pinocchio with an average score of 2.4. Now, I do think that these rankings are going to change, right? As we add more movies. This is in comparison to the first 10 movies. So as we add more movies in, every 20 movies or so we'll update this. And sometimes the gap between two movies might become more exaggerated based on what we've seen since those two movies, right? So these numbers are just a current check-in. All right. If we were to look at the top 10 Disney movies and I were to say rank the top 10 Disney movies, all factors being equal, that's where this list comes in. I do want to explain the difference real quick between this list, though, and the tier list because they should resemble each other, right? I shouldn't have a movie that's skippable, but it's ranked as the best movie. That doesn't really make sense. But the tiers are a little bit different than this, right? So for this movie, for this list, this check-in ranking that we're doing, we are weighting all factors equal, right? Which includes things like box office success and historical significance, which some people would argue really shouldn't matter in the rankings of movies. And that's your prerogative. If you want to say, as I would argue as well, that storytelling should matter more than how much money a movie made, I'm not going to argue that point. I think that it should matter more, but then the question becomes how much are you weighting each category? And for the sake of a casual YouTube review series, I don't feel like getting into the minutia of that, and I don't think you really should, which is where the tier list comes in, which is different than this, right? So this list that we just went over is weighting all things equal and seeing where the average score comes out. That's what we're going to look at when this list is done. All right. The tier list is more so my feeling as to where a movie should rank in tiers, right? And the tiers are going to be maybe sometimes a little bit different. Like for example, right now. So let's transition into that, right? Because Fun and Fancy Free and Melody Time both had an average score of 7.1. They both had a score of 50 when I did all of it, and then the average came out to 7.1, right? So if Fun and Fancy Free is at 7.1 and Melody Time is at 7.1, then why do I have Fun and Fancy Free for the diehards and Melody Time for Skippable? Which, spoiler alert, I do have Melody Time in at Skippable. The reason for that is one, when I realized when I was like going over this review, I judged Fun and Fancy Free in its totality. I judged Melody Time on its highlights, right? The rest of the shorts that are in Melody Time are part of the movie. If I could take the best parts of Melody Time, which again, this is hard when you're ranking anthology films. When I get to the normal films, this will become a lot easier. But with these anthologies, if I took the highlights of Melody Time and packaged that, then I could put Melody Time into the Disney Die Hard category. However, the other shorts do exist, and they are a part of the movie that somebody would have to sit through if I told them to watch Melody Time. So when it comes to Melody Time and I'm looking at the thing in totality, I do have it sliding down a little bit to the to the skippable section, even though I think the best parts of it are there for Disney diehards. Whereas with Fun and Fancy Free, I'm looking at the totality of the movie. With Fun and Fancy Free, while it might be behind Melody Time in some areas when Melody Time is at its best, it's also in front of Melody Time in some areas when Melody Time is at its worst. Okay, so judging the highlights of that, which is what I decided to do with Melody Time, I can understand why it came out even. But again, looking at the tier list compared to the rankings, I would say that Melody Time is a movie that is skippable, whereas Fun and the Fancy Free is something that you could sit through the entire thing for a Disney diehard and enjoy. So, what do you guys think? We are 10 movies in again. 4 subscribers left on the YouTube channel. So if you have not subscribed yet, please do so. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Ralph's Review. Make sure you follow me on TikTok. TikTok is actually I'm not gonna say it's blowing up because it's not blowing up. People blow up on TikTok. We're not there yet. But we're rising. We're getting close to 100 followers, which is my next goal for my TikTok. So if you want to follow me at Ralph's Rapid Review, where you get the short form of these videos, please feel free to do so. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe, share with your friends, like, and comment. Comment, 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 comment. I think I spit. That's my cue to go. Bye, guys.